So I'm here with local cafe owners here at Moncton, New-Brunswick. So it's Clément Duguay.
Dugas, yeah.
Dugas and
Maxime Dubé.
Maxime Dubé. I just came in just to see if we see what it's like running a cafe. I was curious. Yeah, I know these guys roast their own beans, so maybe we'll get some insight on how coffee farming works or how buying from farmers works. So we can start with that. How does sourcing beans work?
Well, we've chosen like a supplier from the start that we establish a nice relationship with, and that's super important that you can like trust your supplier, because a lot of people are out there like you always ask for samples of coffee, they send you samples, and then you're like, oh yeah, these are great, you order coffee and it's not exactly what the samples were.
Okay.
So to establish a nice relationship is super important. And yeah, we're pretty small, so we can't start getting like full containers yet.
Okay.
So we order 10 bags at a time or even less.
So you just have one supplier?
Yeah.
Okay. So they get like coffee from Africa and like all over?
Yeah, we get coffees from all over the world, depending on like the seasons or what's available, and that always changes. So our coffees aren't always the same. And we always have to adapt and have to, that's one of the funnest parts about roasting.
Adapting?
Is adapting your what you want for your coffees from what's available. And if this, you always have to roast a little differently, even throughout the same lot of coffee. After 2 months, it'll react a bit differently, and sometimes there'll be another slightly different lot, even if it's from the same area, and it's a little more dense or a little more humid, and it'll react differently in the roaster. So we're always adapting our roast profile.
Like, is that like week per week? I'm actually kind of curious how does that work? Can you give me like an example of like what you guys did this week?
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with a new Guatemalan in one of our coffees that's just feels a little denser, so it tends to roast. What is it? It's more Max actually doing the roasting lately. So
Yeah, Guatemala is really dense, so it roasts compared to the other coffee we used before. It's about like a minute more to roast our dark roast that we do with Guatemala. So.
As opposed to how long usually?
It would be like around
Really
14 minutes
14
about,
minutes,
and
okay.
now it's more in the
stretch
15.
it into like 15, and then it
and
changes the
more.
profile. So then we have to
Yeah.
adjust the whole duration of the roast. So
Okay. So I know roasting started as a hobby, right? On the side.
yeah, it was like more of a home project to eventually.
And that was before you had that was while you had the cafe as well.
Yeah, I
right?
opened the coffee shop, and a couple years after, I was like, oh, well, roasting coffee would be pretty cool, since we're serving coffee and we're already involved in that. So I got a little home roaster, and it was to ultimately roast for the coffee shop eventually.
Oh, okay.
But it was
master
a good
plan.
Yeah, it was a good way to start on that little roaster back there. Just a little home roaster. You can do like a half pound in that, and.
That's kind of cool.
And yeah, it's
How long
now
ago
with
was
that was maybe 10 years ago, and I roasted on that for like maybe 5 years. And yeah, now with the internet, you can get all types of coffees. You can get a better selection of small amounts of coffees than most roasters can, just because it's such like so easier for a supplier to sell small bags and ship like all across, right? You can be in somewhere in the United States and ship these small amounts anywhere you like. But if I want a full bag of coffee, I can't just order from anyone. You have to set up a relationship.
Right, it's like this longer process.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's a little harder to actually source. But there's people like the Green Beanery, or there's all these little home roaster websites that offer like a ton of coffees, and it's really neat, even for someone who just wants to home roast. There's a lot of options out there.
So was there like a forum or something? Like where'd you learn how to roast? Books
Well,
or
I'm pretty
YouTube?
much hands-on a lot.
Hands-on,
I
okay.
like to just try things. I like to jump right in and see the things that go wrong, and then try to like fix or try to deal with the circumstances once they appear.
Okay.
Instead of trying to get everything ready perfect, and then you don't know how to deal with surprises or with like things you weren't expecting. So I'm doing the same thing with my motorbike right now. I've got the whole thing apart, and I just like started taking parts off the engine, and it's fully open, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta put it back together.
I take it you probably opened that thing up a few times.
Yeah, I opened a lot of machines up, and so with roasting it was a bit like that. For sure, I read some stuff, and there's books, and then when we were ready to roast here, we got this little shop, and it was like, okay, I know how to roast on a little roaster, but I'm gonna need some kind of course, some kind of actual like hands-on on a big roaster. So I went to it's called the School of Coffee. It's in Vermont.
Okay.
And it's like an intensive course you do. They have courses on Q grading, which is like how to quality control coffee, or they have courses on roasting, or on all these on even barista training. But I went for the roasting course, and I came back with a ton of experience there, and and I just dove into to what we had here.
What was that called? I don't take note. I don't have a pen on me. There we go. So I was in Vermont. What was the name of the place?
School of Coffee.
School of Coffee. Alright. Vermont. Let's do
And there's a few. There's really good ones in California too. There's Boot Coffee. They're really huge, and you could go there for all types of.
Okay. Yeah, that's so. You're talking about like cupping coffee, and that's something else. I was like wondering, like how often you guys cup coffee?
Every week.
Every week.
Every week we do an official cupping with a couple other staff members that we bring in, and we try to keep them on track of like what we're doing. But we cup coffees just for fun. Like that's often how we just have a coffee. Like in the morning you come in and have an espresso, but if you're just like, I would do this sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, just like this new coffee's coming out of the roaster. I just want to see how it's reacting.
So you're cupping once a week. Do you get like a batch out once a week? Is that usually how that works? Or?
No, we roast like 4 times a week.
Okay.
And we'll do like anywhere from 2 to 10 batches in a day. So depending on like orders but cupping is more for. There's different reasons to cup. You can sample roast, so
Right.
just to
Make sure
see,
keep your supplier in check.
yeah, or just to see a new coffee. If you're trying a new coffee, get samples in, and then you want to, you just want to see how you like that coffee. So you'll roast it just always the same way. Try to roast it like super short, and just to see the potential of the coffee. You don't try to go into these crazy roast profiles. You just want to keep it really simple, and that's more like sample roasting. And you can do sample cupping. That'll just be to see how you like that coffee. And then production roasting is what we do on the big roaster, and production cupping would be cupping our coffees that we are on the line that are actually out for sale.
Right.
And that's just to make sure that they're always up to par. And yeah, they do change. They're always fluctuating, and especially when you're cupping like this, you're really making sure there's no other factors that could go wrong. Like by making espresso, you have this temp, the machine, it might be off.
Yeah.
When you're just boiling water and you're putting it into grinds, there's not much can go wrong, and you always have a super standard way of tasting the coffee.
Okay. I was wondering, when did you start thinking about opening a cafe? 'Cause I can see like you're really passionate about this, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's like, was it like when you were younger? Or like what, did it just like come about, or?
No, it was more it just kind of came. I guess I fell into like the restaurant industry young enough. Around like 17, I started working in like at Galactus. That's like my school. That's where I learned the whole restaurant kind of how a restaurant works. I started dishwashing, and then I was cook, and I was managing the kitchen at like 18, 19, and I worked there until about 22, and then I was like, yeah, this seems like a super fun thing to do.
Right.
And my parents were always entrepreneurs too. They had a small business. They had like a clothing shop and other things on the go. And there was a little space next to them that got available. And so we were like, yeah, let's open this little coffee shop there. It seems pretty simple. A coffee shop's a good way to go because you don't have a lot of moving parts like a restaurant.
Right.
You don't have like cooks and then waiters, and then you can be a one-man show and just kind of do it.
So did it start off as like a one-man show?
Yeah, it just started off. I was like, I'm just gonna open. I just bought like an espresso machine and a couple fridges on Kijiji, and like just really just went for it. And yeah, it got super busy very fast, and then we got a couple employees, and then it grew from there. We were 3 years where we were before,
Okay.
and then we've been here for 8 years.
So how'd you get it busy like off the bat though?
I don't know. It was just timing,
word of
I
mouth?
guess. It was timing. We just opened, and it became it was instant success, and it was
Well, after like a couple of years of Galactus and shit though, but you know.
yeah, but I mean, it was not the same thing.
Right.
It was just this small space. It was super low cost.
So that's why you picked this spot. Well, I guess you were close to like the local university too. You can see a lot of.
No, but where we started off.
Oh, you didn't start off here.
No, it was on St. George for 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was like this super just little space. It was very cheap, and it was like, it was hard not for it to work. So.
Okay, so you guys moved the whole shop. What? Was there anything that like showed up that you didn't expect when you moved the shop, or?
Yeah, well, when we
random
moved,
inconveniences.
it was super small, so we had to wait till the other spaces became available for us to expand again, because when we first moved here, it was just the first little space where the cash is, and so it was super small. There was like 10 seats, and we lost all our customers, and that was like the hardest hit. We had to really build up
when
again.
you moved. Okay.
When we moved, it was super hard, and we were like, oh shit, did we do the right thing? And
doubt sets in.
but yeah, it was definitely worth it in the long run.
So were you here from like the start, or how this?
I
this
started
go?
working at the cafe about a year and a half or more ago,
Okay.
and I was working as a barista, and then Clement needed like help with the roasting and all that. So this summer I started learning from him how to roast, and I've been roasting since this summer. Yeah.
Okay. You enjoying it?
Oh yeah, I'm loving it.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll call it a day. Probably come back later if you guys want. You know?
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alright.